this has been brewing for many decades and many years, I should say. And I feel that when we hear that word emergency, we're like, oh, let's go all in, and let's fix this problem like now. This is something that has been going on for several years. And I don't think it's much of an emergency. I feel that it's more of an awareness, and for us to just try our best in what works for them, because I was reviewing the proposed for the new guidelines, I should say, of the food pyramid. And so this is actually what health and nutritional professionals, I should say, have been doing all along. It's just now it's being like, oh, we're in an emergency fight or flight mode, when actually registered dietitians, providers have always been touting eat more fruits and vegetables, eat more whole grains, have leaner cuts of meats, drink your dairy, or eat your dairy. And so that part is not new. It's just how it's being explained. And like I said, that title is like, oh, we're in an emergency situation. Like I said, I reviewed it a little bit, from the dietary guidelines and what USDA and the myplate.gov. I really have always focused into that myplate.gov philosophy, because any person can use that tool, and it's a great tool to have. It really is, because it guides that person. What is a serving size? How much are we supposed to have? It also helps guide people in regards to, like, who are parents, how much does my toddler need? Do they need the same amount? And so it really does a nice job in regards to guiding that person into success. The latest and greatest is avocado. So let's just talk about that one right off the bat. And and so ironically, I find this very interesting as far as avocados. Avocado is a healthy fat. However, too much of a good thing is not always a good thing, because they are nutrient dense, which is good. It provides that satiety. And also, when we have that satiety, we're not going to be hungry right away, right? And in theory. But only 1/3 of a small avocado, or a medium avocado, probably about 1/3, is a serving size. That's one fat choice. We should only have, I don't feel that the new guidelines are stipulating that we should be into 9 or 10 fat choices for a day. We still need to be aware of that portion size and how to incorporate that. A lot of times, individuals, myself included, I'm not going to say that I don't, guacamole and chips, right? Those go hand in hand, okay? But what we don't realize is that for every chip, not probably, even if it's a whole grain chip, it's all, but by the time that we're eating the guacamole along with the chips, we're eating a lot of whole grain that is fried, has a lot of calories to it, and now we're making a healthy food not so healthy. Okay. The other thing I want to mention too about avocado is the only fat that has fiber. Again, it's just trying to pair things to where we're not consuming too much. Again, it's one of those things. It's hard to eat healthy. It really is. It can be challenging, let me say that. Our food industry has changed so much. It really has, in regards to manufacturing, and I don't mean anything against the manufacturing at all. Okay. But it is unfortunately, where we're at right now. And so they're looking for extended periods of, food being, so it doesn't spoil. And adding sugars to that food item is a source of preservative, believe it or not. It also has a source of making that food product tender. There's a lot of science behind it, believe it or not. Do I believe that we needed all that added sugars to these food products? No. Do I feel that that's something that definitely needs to be looked at? Absolutely. Do I think that that's something that is going to happen overnight? Absolutely not. That's an unrealistic expectation. It's been going on for years, decades, like I said. And so, um, but it is something to be aware of. However, from a consumer standpoint, it's quite confusing on the food label. When I go through that food label, if I didn't know it myself, I'd be like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to look at? Am I supposed to look at total sugars? Am I supposed to look at added sugars? Am I the world's worst parent? Am I the world's worst, human being if I ate something that had added sugars to it? What am I supposed to do? And so I'm not, again, not trying to, blame any person or any company or any agency. It's just where we're at from a nutrition standpoint and from a professional that works with individuals trying to break down that food label. It's confusing. It really is. And so I know that consumers, we're just trying to do our best, you know, and so yeah, the added sugars, nice component, but it's a little confusing for the consumers to understand it. What is a good serving size of meat? Believe it or not, 3 ounces. I know. Exactly. 3 ounces is only 21 grams of protein. And I know when I was looking through the updated guidelines, it went from 0.8 grams per kilogram of, they changed the mathematics to it. However, you need a nutrition professional, a registered dietitian to help that person navigate through that information. Okay. The reason why I say that is because it's very specific in regards to what is going on with that person. You can actually do more harm by increasing a person's protein content, whether it's from red meat, whether it's from tofu, whether it's plant-based, all of that, okay, by doing it by yourself. Because I teach the entire lifespan. And so when I work with individuals that have kidney disease, okay, and they're on dialysis, their protein requirements are very, very specific. And you can actually do more harm than good. Okay. And so with what this information is sharing with us, like you said, okay, red meat, what is the serving size of that? 3 ounces. And so when you go to a restaurant, and again, not saying anything bad about it, but the thing is we have become such a indulgent society, where our portions are so distorted, where we think it's normal now, and it's not. And so how do we get from where we're at to where we can scale back? And it's going to take a long time for that to happen. So I understand where they're touting more red meat. However, it's still lean meat. You don't want, certain different cuts, like ribeyes. Okay. Ribeye has a lot of fat to it, and fat means taste. And it also has with tenderness and so many different factors there, right? Versus like a filet mignon, you know? And so when you're served a 3 ounce or a 4 ounce filet mignon, you're like, okay, that was 3 bites. Thank you. You're like, that was a nice little appetizer. Where's the rest of the food? And it's because we've been served so much more. And that's where we are used to or accustomed. The other thing to consider too is red meat, because I work in a cancer institute. And with the American Cancer Society, they still tout, along with other areas, they still tout that's an inflammatory. It does cause inflammation. And so inflammation is chronic disease. So again, I appreciate where they're coming from. I do. I realize that these guidelines have flipped. I realize it's going to be confusing because they flipped in a weird way. And it's going to be confusing to the consumer. And so helping those individuals to understand where the USD, where they're coming from is going to really help and help navigate through those questions. Yeah, because it's still individual, it just is. The biggest thing too, with getting back to the whole grains, where it's kind of limiting those. All right. Whole grains actually has B vitamins to them. It's a great fiber source. It's a matter of how they manufacture that grain. And so I understand where the guidelines are coming from. And the message that I would like to send home is to eat a wide variety of foods still, prepared a wide variety of ways, and try your best to focus in on that plate method that works for your home.